Coming up tonight on Our News, an elderly woman beaten and sexually assaulted as police question a teenager. Wet and wild weather hitting Grand Bahama. Dramatic video of waterspouts and torrential rain. A day after a mother is charged in court with abusing her son, public reactions, reigniting the debate over abuse versus discipline. And then in Our News at 7:30, a claim of self-defense in a schoolyard stabbing. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks so much for joining us. Tonight, I'm Jerome Sawyer. Well, disturbing details of a sexual assault of a senior citizen as police question a 19-year-old of Warren Street in Oaksfield. According to police reports, around 2:30 Monday afternoon, an 83-year-old woman was beaten and sexually assaulted by the teen at her Market Street home. They then arrested the suspect around 7:30 last evening in the Soldier Road area. Police investigations are continuing, but no word yet on when formal charges may come. Well, a man accused of planning the murder of a homicide detective is out on bail tonight. Justice Camille Darville Gomez released Roger Wallace on $30,000 bail on the condition that he wears an ankle monitor, reports to police 3 times a week, and keeps a curfew. Now, prosecutors say back in March, while behind bars awaiting trial on a murder charge, Wallace and another person conspired to murder Sergeant Raphael Miller. Well, heavy rains and strong wind gusts catching many commuters here in the capital and over in Grand Bahama by surprise these past few days. Drivers met dangerous road conditions last evening with high wind gusts and blinding rain. Videos of waterspouts spotted off the coast of West and Grand Bahama also making the rounds on social media today. On Monday, the Met Office put out a severe weather warning for the majority of the day for most of the northern Bahamas. Radars picking up clusters of heavy showers and embedded thunderstorms that prompted warnings until around 11:40 last night. While the tropics also heating up tonight as Tropical Storm Brett moves through the region, the storm is posing no threat to the Bahamas right now. Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, Miles Laroda, is also responsible for disaster preparedness, management and reconstruction. He was questioned by reporters today about the storm. He also sent out this caution to residents to be prepared no matter what.
There's no threat to us right now. If it was to move in our direction, we're looking at sometime next week. I advise the public to follow those advisories and stay prepared.
Well, Rhoda says all the relevant agencies are keeping an eye on this storm and are ready to respond if necessary.
At the beginning of the month of June, late May was Hurricane Preparedness Month. We did some communications there. Those agencies that deal with preparedness, mitigation, resiliency, they're all prepared and ready to go.
While there is no real storm threat just yet, the British Royal Navy's already deploying its hurricane ship to this area. Our Marlena Leonard tells us more in this report tonight.
Every year, the UK always has a hurricane ship in the region. They'll be exactly the same this year. It's a different ship to before. It's a slightly a ship with more teeth. Let me say it's a warship that's going to be in the region, and we recognise that because of climate change, hurricanes are getting bigger and more frequent in the region, and the UK response is trying to match that.
This is British High Commissioner Thomas Hartley's first hurricane season in the Bahamas, and with Tropical Storm Brett brewing in the Atlantic, he tells us they're already preparing.
For me and my team, this is something we train for, something we're ready to support the Bahamian but also British people here, and something we're now having for Hurricane or Tropical Storm Brett. We're having daily phone calls on with London and with our ambassadors in the region to kind of understand the meteorology and the Defence Force response and our own response.
The Royal Navy was the first international aid on the ground post-Hurricane Dorian. The High Commissioner says whenever possible, the Royal Navy will be there to help.
The Royal Navy has responded to every major hurricane. And for Hurricane Dorian, in fact, the Royal Navy was the first responder. Well before the Americans could get here or anyone else could get here, the Royal Navy was in the waters. when I went up to Grand Bahama and hear the stories from the Defence Forces, it was hugely touching to hear those personal stories of how the Royal Navy and the Royal Bahamas Defence Force came together in those hours, really, after Hurricane Dorian.
As we head deeper into the hurricane season, Hartley had this to say.
As a High Commissioner, it's always hard at this pre-season to always kind of over-promise and over-commit, because you never quite know what will be the situation on the day when a hurricane hits and how it hits and where it hits and where the Royal Navy is. But I am proud that for the last 20 years, the Royal Navy has always responded.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Well, with all this talk about weather, naturally it's time for our first look at temperatures on the outside. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is standing by in the Weather Centre tonight. Ian?
Thanks, Jerome, and good evening, Bahamas. Here's a first look at weather. Currently outside our studios, we're under mostly fair skies with a temperature of 85. Our winds are out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 83. Current temperatures across our country at this time: in Freeport City, we have 83, 84 in Marsh Harbor, 85 in Great Harbor Key, also 83 in Alistown. We have 84 in Nicholstown, Andros, and Governor's Harbor, with 85 in the capital. In the central Bahamas, we have 85s in Camps Bay, Georgetown, Exuma, and we have a pair of 84s in Arthurstown, Kidd Island, and Deadman's Key, Long Island. And the cool spot this evening is in Coburn Town, San Salvador, at 81. In the southeast Bahamas, we have 85s in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 85 in Delectable Bay, Acklands, also 85 in Colonel Hill, Crooked Island, and 85 in Abrahams Bay, Maguana. Rounding up 85s, we in the deep south, Matthewtown, in Nagua, and 86 in Providenciales. Taking a first look at our satellite and radar imagery at this time, we still have this persistent plume of moisture covering the northwest and portions of the central Bahamas, courtesy of this mid to upper level trough that's pretty much been persistent across our area over the past several days. We also have streaming tropical moisture coupled with that, so that should keep our rain chances pretty elevated throughout the next several days. That's your first look at weather. Stay tuned. More weather still to come.
Still to come on Our News tonight, a mother charged with abuse after her son brings home bad grades. Tonight, public debate over what is going too far. The wait continues over the cannabis legislation, but soon you'll have a chance to have your say on the issue. And later, a desperate search for a missing tour submarine off the radar since Sunday. It's a race against time for 5 missing passengers. That's coming up when Our News returns. Well, last night we brought you the story of a mother charged in court for abuse after allegedly beating her son with an electrical cord for bringing home bad grades. Well, it's reignited the discussion about how far is too far when disciplining a child. There's an ongoing heated discussion now in the public domain on where the line should be drawn. Well, we took to the streets today to get some feedback.
A little spank, a little pinch, a little shove, that's it, but actually take a belt and all and beat the child. I was beaten as a child, didn't do anything for me because I was still bad anyway.
I personally don't think that we should be using anything physical to discipline children. A lot of parents, when they discipline, they're taking out their frustration and anger. So it's not a discipline, it's actually I'm angry and so I am lashing out at you.
Well, the mom got a conditional discharge on Monday. The child's grandparents took him to the hospital following the beating on June 14th, and he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. For many of her critics, though, it's the electrical cord that's the issue here.
We should never spray the rod and spoil the child. However, we need to know when it is intended to correct behavior and when it's intended for abuse. And that incident yesterday, that was abuse.
I don't think a child should be beaten with a cord. I think there's other ways you could discipline a child. You could take away things from them, take away the TV or take away the computer or take away the phone or something like that.
Well, for more on that story, be sure and join our Berthany McDermott coming up in our news at 7:30. 41 health facilities nationwide are under renovation. Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville giving details of the Family Island Clinic upgrades as well as the construction of new healthcare facilities. He was speaking in the House of Assembly today, contributing to the 2023-2024 budget debate.
Just about every island in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, we are renovating the primary healthcare facilities. We have 4 active constructions of 4 new clinics that is going on as we speak. There's one going on in San Salvador, and that is at the United States Clinic. We have one going on in Rumkey. We have another one going on in Old Bight, and we have another one going on in Orange Creek, Cat Island.
Well, Dr. Darville also speaking to the National Health Insurance Bill tabled in Parliament last October and what it is expected to do for overall health care.
This change will help to decentralize pharmacy services and eliminate the delays that we are currently experiencing in getting drugs and medical supplies to our family islands on time. Now, family island residents, I've heard the cry. And we have been finding ways to decentralize so that we can become more efficient to get medications in our clinics throughout our archipelago on a timely basis.
That long-awaited legislation on cannabis is now under review with Cabinet, looking at the benefits of medical use and in religious observances. Attorney General Ryan Pinder says there's a website with the proposed legislation now available. All of the regulations, rules and orders needed to be put in the regime in place. Pinder says public consultation is expected to begin shortly after independence.
We want to be thorough. We want to go to all constituents that matter and that are interested and that have opinions on this. We want to ensure that we have widespread consultation through the Family Islands. We want to talk to the medical community, let them weigh in. We want to talk to the religious community, let them weigh in. We certainly want to talk to the agriculture and agribusiness community and let them weigh in. So this is going to be pretty widespread.
Attorney General says the public consultation period will also be a time to get feedback on the recreational use of marijuana and steps toward decriminalization.
We're certainly going to take feedback from the public on recreational. This is why we do the consultation. We have chosen to put a regime out of medical and religious use in the first instance, and we will see what the consultation is going to be widespread. So we will listen to the consultation. With respect to decriminalization, there is a decriminalization framework within what we're going to be releasing in July that would effectively decriminalize a smaller amount. And treat it effectively like a traffic ticket.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world. As UK lawmakers approve a report accusing former PM Boris Johnson of misleading the House. Plus, a Guyanese lawmaker on bail for charges he sexually assaulted a 16-year-old girl. We'll have the details when our news returns.
Welcome to The Rewind, an Our News monthly podcast
where we discuss various different topics in the Bahamian society.
I'm your host, Jasmine Lundy.
I'm your co-host, Janae.
I don't like eggs enough.
I get the vibe.
Right, let's put that on a shirt.
Go by our last name.
Yeah.
This is The Rewind.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. British lawmakers voted last night to approve a report that recommended sanctioning former Prime Minister Boris Johnson for deliberately misleading Parliament over rule-breaking parties during the COVID-19 pandemic. Lawmakers in the House of Commons voted 354 to 7 to endorse a Privileges Committee's report. The report recommends the former leader's parliamentary pass be revoked had he not already quit. It also recommended a 90-day suspension from Parliament.
The question is, as on the order paper, as many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no.
No, 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 no.
Division, clear the lobbies.
The ayes to the right, 354. The noes to the left, 7.
Who are you? Who are you?
The ayes to the right, 354. The noes to the left, 7. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. Allah!
U.S. President Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden has agreed to plead guilty to 2 charges of willfully failing to pay income taxes and to enter into an agreement to avoid a conviction on a gun-related charge. Zachary Goldman reports.
U.S. President Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden has agreed to plead guilty to federal income tax charges in a deal with the Justice Department. That's according to government documents and a statement from Hunter Biden's attorney on Tuesday. It reads, quote, Hunter Biden believes it is important to take responsibility for these mistakes he made during a period of turmoil and addiction in his life. He looks forward to continuing his recovery and moving forward. The charges against Hunter Biden arose from an investigation by the U.S. attorney in the Democratic president's home state of Delaware. That U.S. attorney was appointed by Republican former President Donald Trump.
I think Hunter Biden is a disgrace. Hunter Biden was getting money from corrupt oligarchs.
Hunter Biden got rich in the Ukraine.
The 53-year-old Hunter Biden has for years been the focus of unrelenting attacks by Trump and his Republican allies. They have accused him of peddling his access to his father when Joe Biden was vice president to win business deals in Ukraine and China.
Joe Biden assured the American people that he had never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealing.
Both Hunter Biden and his father have denied the accusations of corruption. According to the deal, the president's son also entered a pretrial diversion agreement on 1 firearm offense. Hunter Biden has worked as a lobbyist, a lawyer, an investment banker, and an artist, and has publicly detailed his struggles with substance abuse. A White House statement on Tuesday said President Biden supports his son and his efforts to rebuild his life and had no comment on the charges.
Well, the search for the missing Titanic tour submarine has been expanded into deeper waters after going missing with 5 people on board. A British-Pakistani businessman and his son are 2 of the 5 on board, along with British businessman and explorer Hamish Harding, a former French Navy diver who has explored the Titanic before, and the CEO of the firm behind the dive are also on board. Contact with the small sub was lost about an hour and 45 minutes into its dive to the wreck site off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada on Sunday, with a supply of oxygen now thought to be running out. Now to the region, where detectives from the Royal Turks and Caicos Islands Police Force are currently investigating a murder following the discovery of a body in Providencial Islands early this morning. Officers say when they arrived at the location, they found the bleeding body with what appeared to be a wound to the head. They say the unidentified male is about 5 feet 8 inches tall, is of slim build, and weighs about 160 pounds. The victim appears to be between the ages of 18 and 25, and detectives say the body was only wearing a pair of black shorts. And finally, from Guyana, embattled local government and regional development minister Nigel Daronal is out on bail after he was arrested on Monday in connection with allegations of the sexual assault of a 16-year-old schoolgirl. Police had arrested the minister, who has since taken leave to facilitate the probe. His attorney says his client was not questioned during the 8-hour-long detention. And still to come on Our News, today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was June 20th. And then in Our News at 7:30, worried about high electricity costs this summer? Our Italia Hall has some tips on how to cut down on those big summer bills. And later, striking a pose for the perfect headshot. That's coming up in Our News at 7:30.
If new.
Welcome back. This is Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was June 20th. Take a look.
On this day in Bahamian history in 1935, John Berkeley Peanuts Taylor was born in Nassau. In 2014, Taylor, who is known for being an incredible drummer, musician, nightclub owner, and cultural icon, was among 41 cultural giants honored during an art exhibition at Pompey Square. The event was part of the 41st Independence Anniversary celebrations. In 2016, then Free National Movement Senator Dr. Dwayne Sands said he and then Long Island MP Loretta Butler Turner were prepared to take over leadership of the FNM as deputy leader and leader in the upcoming party convention.
I believe that we will. I believe that we have a blending of skill sets that is different from the existing team, and that those strengths will complement each other.
I believe in democracy. Once there's a convention, all positions are open. I believe in democracy. I have no doubt that I will go in as leader and I will come out as leader. I am not.
Also in 2016, a deadly small plane crash on Bimini that claimed the lives of Grand Bahama-based pilot Terrence Gibson and airplane mechanic Anthony Smith the day before left their families in shock. Gibson's family telling Our News they were still processing the news.
I just lost for words right now.
I saw him for the last time yesterday morning. You know, he prayed. I mean, that prayer was so touching. You know, he prayed for everyone.
Then in 2017, the secret Bahamar deal was unsealed. Then Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis, who promised on the campaign trail that a Free National Movement government would have the documents made public, made the announcement when he wrapped the 2017-2018 budget debate.
As promised during our campaign, we have unsealed the deal.
June 20th, 2018, a day after the firing of 3 F&M MPs from their cabinet-appointed posts, then Attorney General Carl Bethel defending the Prime Minister's decision.
AG not only defended the firings, but he also explained why they needed to happen under the Westminster system. As he said, MPs can have their opinions, but they also need to toe the party line.
Your voice is your own as a member of Parliament. You were elected by your constituents to represent them on the floor of the House of Assembly and say whatever the Lord lay on your breast to say.
In 2019, it was announced that as of July 1st, all new and current Bahamian students who met the minimum GPA of 2.0 would be eligible to attend the University of the Bahamas free of charge. Then Finance Minister Peter Turnquest said government took the decision to make tertiary education attainable for all.
The number, if memory serves me, runs about 19 million. And we've provided for that.
Also in 2019, then opposition leader Philip Davis called the Prime Minister's assertion that the PLP awarded $200 million of untendered contracts worth only $3.5 million simply ridiculous.
Yes, there were untendered contracts, just as there are now untendered contracts being granted by this government. But there's nothing wrong, inherently wrong, with that process.
And finally, in 2022, Prime Minister Philip Davis was in the Central African city of Kigali, Rwanda, preparing to meet with leaders of more than 50 nations comprising the Commonwealth heads of government. It was the first time in 4 years the group of former British colonies met due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The group typically meets every 2 years. It was Davis's first CHOGM as Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture, Mario Boleg, taking center stage at a youth forum there, highlighting some Bahamian success stories as possible models for other Commonwealth countries to follow.
Our common future rests on the shoulders of our youth. My country recognizes this and has taken a deliberate approach to ensure millennials hold key positions in our administration.
Well, to watch that historical recap again and for all of today's top stories, be sure and visit ournews.bs. That does it for our news at 7. Joining us now is our Talia Hall with all of the latest headlines. Talia, good evening.
All right, thanks so much, Jerome. Great to have you in studio. Well, we've got reaction tonight to that son's beating with an electrical cord. His mother now on a conditional discharge, and summer savings, how you can beat the heat and power bills. Here are your latest headlines. Spare the rod and spoil the child. First tonight on our news live at 7:30. That quote has been up for debate for decades. The recent arrest of a mother reignites the debate. Also, a teen's attorney trying to convince a judge that he was the victim of an unprovoked attack in a lunchtime brawl. Plus, crafty criminals. It appears as if criminals are becoming more and more creative in their methods. This as illegal weapons were found at a courier service company. And later, summer savings. How do you save on electricity during the summer months? Well, a Grand Bahama Power executive offers suggestions. Our news live at 7:30 starts in a moment.
If new, Heineken Silver was a riveting Viking saga.
Last the 12th, your family tortured my first wife and stole my second favorite goat. Now you want to marry my daughter. Okay.
All the taste, no bitter endings. Smooth, fresh, silver.
Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Natalia Hall. A recent court case where a mother admitted to beating her son with an electrical cord over bad grades, sparking heated discussion on where the line should be drawn. Our Bethany McDermott saw to get some answers today.
How far is too far when it comes to discipline? It's a question that's been circulating for quite some time, with everyone having their own views.
A little spank, a little pinch, a little shove, that's it, you know, but actually take a belt and all and beat the child. I was beaten as a child, didn't do anything for me because I was still bad anyway.
I personally don't think that we should be using anything physical to discipline children.
A woman got a conditional discharge on Monday after beating her child with an electrical cord because he ended his school year with a 1.0 GPA. The child's grandparents took him to the hospital following the beating on June 14th, and he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. These residents tell us the use of objects like an electrical cord is taking it a bit too far.
We should never spray the rod and spoil the child. However, we need to know when it is intended to correct behavior and when it's intended for abuse. And that incident yesterday, that was abuse.
I don't think a child should be beaten with a cord. I think there's other ways you could discipline a child. You could take away things from them, take away the TV or take away the computer or take away the phone or something like that.
People also sounded off on an Our News social media poll. 74% or 89 people saw it as abuse, 24% or 27 people saw it as discipline, and 3 people or 2% were undecided. This resident says, where are the fathers? They are supposed to be the king of their family. Another adds, they say foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall surely drive it out. And then there was this resident who says, I have no problem with discipline or corporal punishment, but beating a child with an electrical cord is barbaric. Meanwhile, this resident says it's important to honor and respect each other.
It's a tricky situation. Parenting can be very hard and very challenging, but we always want to treat people with as much love and respect as possible, even when we discipline them.
Meanwhile, this resident who didn't want to be on camera says for too long, parents have been abusing children and calling it discipline. She says parents ought to discipline children out of love.
Not out of frustration. Children aren't punching bags for your emotional venting and frustration.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
All right, Bethany, thanks so much. Great story. Well, a 15-year-old boy is accused of attempting to murder a 14-year-old boy on September 12, 2022 at the Anatole Rogers High School. Public Defender Stanley Rolls said the defendant was a victim of an unprovoked attack. He said the accused walked away from the initial confrontation, but he was pushed to the ground, kicked and stomped by several other students. While prosecutors contend that the accused stabbed an innocent bystander in his back, Rolls said that the teenager used reasonable force to prevent a further attack. Now, on the other hand, the prosecutor, Kenny Thompson, said the teenager tried to kill the alleged victim during the unlawful fight. The accused, who is on bail, will learn his fate when the jury deliberates on Thursday. While 2 men are in hospital following a drive-by shooting in southern New Providence, the 31 and 33-year-olds were standing outside a Bamboo Street home in Golden Gate around 4:30 p.m. That's when 2 men in a black van pulled up and opened fire. Police say one of the men was shot multiple times while the other was shot to the lower body. Now, both men are currently listed in serious but stable condition in hospital. Now, police are asking anyone with any information to call telephone numbers 911 and 919 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Police are investigating how more than 10 guns and ammunition got into the country. They believe the weapons and ammunition were brought in from the United States. Police Commissioner Clayton Fernando breaking the news to the media, noting that the seizures are a result of the partnership that exists between the Bahamas and the United States. Now, last month, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris announced the U.S. will appoint a coordinator for Caribbean firearms prosecution to address gun trafficking.
That is still very much active, and we continue to see that there's a number of trafficking of firearms that continue to come into our country, and therefore that's the reason for the Firearms Task Force that was born just a few months ago. And you could see that relationship and that partnership with our U.S. partner to try to curb that. So kudos at this time for the officers out there with the execution.
Now, the coroner's court has ruled another police-involved shooting as homicide by manslaughter. This would be the second ruling in just a matter of weeks. Police Commissioner Clayton Fernando says it's just a preliminary inquiry.
It's not the final decision because of the ruling in the coroners. It's a preliminary inquiry, and the evidence still stands. So as it moves, the open court may see it different. I don't know, but we always look at matters and learn from it as we move. Each matter have its own merit, and we look at things, and where we have to adjust and speak to it to our officers, we do just that on a daily basis.
Now, on Friday, a coroner's court ruled the 2019 killing of 21-year-old Shanton Forbes was a homicide by manslaughter. It follows the police-involved killing of Azario Major, which was also ruled as homicide by manslaughter. Now, despite the recent rulings, Fernando is confident the public won't lose faith in the force.
The majority of the Bahamian people support their Royal Bahamas Police Force, and I will leave it just like the majority of the Bahamian people support their police force, and I thank them for that.
All right, nice temperatures this evening outside the Our News studios, but there's some more rain expected in the forecast. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is in the Weather Center with a first look at weather. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia. Good evening, everyone. Currently outside our studios, we're under partly cloudy skies with a temperature of 85. Our winds are out of the east-southeast at 9 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 80. Taking a look at our satellite and radar imagery at this time, we still have a persistent plume of moisture that's moving across the area, predominantly across the northwest and central islands, and this is courtesy of that persistent mid to upper level trough. It's stubborn. That's been causing a lot of showers and thunderstorm activity across us, even causing issuance of some severe weather warnings. Elsewhere across the southeast Bahamas, more high pressure dominating that area. Stay tuned. Our extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, how the recent citizenship ruling pushes government to regulate DNA testing. Plus, welcome news, says the Freeport Chief Counselor, after a 10% increase for local government. And school is closed. The kids are at home, and that means video games and Netflix in frame. How do you save on electricity this summer? Tonight, a GBPC official gives you the answers when Our News returns. The Davis administration is working on a way to regulate DNA testing. It's a move that will be a game changer for those impacted by the recent citizenship ruling. It also comes as applications have flooded into the passport office after the Privy Council ruled that children born out of wedlock in the Bahamas to a Bahamian father and foreign mother should have the right to a Bahamian passport at birth. Pinder says they're working along with the Ministry of Health to streamline paternity tests.
We've drafted the new passport rules that deal with Article 6 of the Constitution. We've vetted those rules now with the Passport Office, the Minister of Immigration, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who has portfolio responsibility of the Passport Office. They provided their comments, and we revised those and circulated a revised draft to that group yesterday.
But the Attorney General tells us it's not as simple as getting any DNA test for those without a father listed on their birth certificate. They will have to be processed through approved certified labs.
The issue comes down when you don't have a father in that situation listed on the birth certificate, and then how do you prove paternity and that the father was Bahamian? And so we're looking at a protocol involving DNA evidence in those circumstances. We're working with the Ministry of Health to properly define that protocol. As you can imagine, it has to be by way of certified laboratories and properly recognized DNA results and only down so many generations in these types of questions. Once that protocol is in place, then naturally we'll be able to proceed on the DNA element of it.
All right, during the 2023-2024 budget debate, it was announced that local government will see a 10% increase during this new fiscal year. Fraysette Gibson, Chief Counselor for the City of Freeport Council, says she's excited about the increase, but there is some concern.
Normally, I know that with our budget, 10% is normally removed, and you would write to have access to that 10%. So I was uncertain if it's that 10% that is remaining, or it's an additional 10% onto the budget. And of course, it's a wait and see for the city here of Freeport Council. And so in July, when the budget is released, we will be waiting with anticipation as to this 10%. And we already have projects on the drawing board that we can use the funds towards. And so we are sitting, hoping and waiting that the 10% will be added on.
Now, the Chief Counselor also revealing that in the last 3 years, their budget has been cut.
I think we would need an increase maybe of 100% as opposed to 10%. The cost of everything has gone up, even in terms of having our assets maintained. Contractors require additional fees, and so we cannot continue to operate on the same budget that we have been doing so for the last 3 years.
Wednesday is the official start of summer, and that calls for hot temperatures, which can sometimes lead to high electricity bills. While tonight, an executive of the Grand Bahama Power Company is telling you how you can stay cool during the summer months and save.
We also want to remind customers that do use air-conditioned units. Mini splits are encouraged, and you want to pay attention to the SEER. The higher the SEER, the lower you'll pay for that energy consumption of those AC units.
That's the secret to lowering electricity bills this summer. Chief Operating Officer at the Grand Bahama Power Company, Nikita Mullings, providing some other summer energy saving tips.
We know the kids, the little ones, are out this summer, so if you can, opening and closing that fridge, it uses a lot of energy. Maybe get a little cooler and place the kids' snacks in so they're able to go into the cooler. Your water heater, get a timer, place it on a timer. When you leave the home, you can turn it off and maybe turn it on about an hour or two before you return, and that water will be heated.
And she says appliances work harder in the summer rather than in the winter.
So you want to be sure that if you're leaving your AC on, you're setting it to a temperature about 78 degrees where it is able to switch off and not consistently running. Your iron, do all your ironing 1 day a week. And if you have to use the dryer, be sure that you're not putting too much clothes in the dryer, as it is working it harder and you're making the dryer run a little bit longer.
As for Grand Bahama Power customers, she's encouraging you to sign up for the Energy Advisor program on GBPC's website.
And customers that do sign up now actually will get 15 LED light bulbs that they're able to trade out and swap out within the home.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute.
Brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, have you ever thought about what goes into capturing the perfect photo? Tonight, a photo expert shares the creative process.
We talked to some of the coaches and athletes at the National Swim Championships over the weekend, and Antoine Richardson and the San Francisco Giants get the decisive upper hand against heated California rivals. Hold tight, our sports is coming right up.
Light showers and cloudy skies around the islands today. Meteorologist Ian McKenzie is back with your extended weather when our news returns. Stay with us.
At Doctors Hospital, our lamp just got brighter. The Loyalty Advantage membership program now has 3 unique plans to choose from. From Lamp Prepaid with free prime care visits and service line discounts, Lamp Insured with copay waivers and 0 upfront collections at the ER and inpatient services, or our new Lamp Access, a free plan that offers 10% off labs, pharmacy, and imaging. Lamp has a plan for everyone. To sign up, visit our website or give us a call. Doctors Hospital, trusted and best care now.
First we plan, then we innovate, then we build. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, we are committed to quality, to safety, and to service. We know that the road you take is just as important as your final destination. At Bahamas Striping Group of Companies, it is our job to make sure the road and the ride are as smooth as possible. From striping roads to building them, we are the right choice, the trusted choice, the only choice to help you build your tomorrow.
This is our news. Welcome back. Many of you at home applying for a new job or simply updating your professional portfolio may wonder about the process involved in capturing that perfect shot. Well, our Joshua Williams visited a professional studio today to learn how. Let's take a look.
Eyes on the camera. Good. Lower that chin some more. Good.
The perfect headshot, something that is sought after by professionals, college graduates, and job seekers. But what makes the perfect headshot? Professional portrait and commercial photographer Sherrod Lightbourne says the perfect shot starts with the individual's energy.
People always come in and say, oh, I'm not photogenic. That's not the case. Everybody's photogenic. But, you know, if you have a good energy and great smile, personality, I try to bring those things out into your headshot, because what people want to see when they look at a photo of you is they want to be able to feel who you are.
After hearing this, I asked Sherrod to take my energy and transform it into something special.
So basically, like when I'm creating a headshot, this is my setup, right? Very simple, one light pointing down towards you, I have a light behind you, and I have this black wall here just so that, because I like to create shadow, because the face is not flat, the face is actually round. Right. So light and shadow will help to shape the face so that you don't look flat in the picture. And make sure that your expression looks relatable, and make sure that it looks approachable and pleasant.
Head turns, tilts, and facial expressions are also key.
So this is turning the head. If I say turn your head, this is what I mean. So it's like looking from left to right. Okay. If I say tilt your head, it's like rocking your head. Right there, stop. Look at the camera. Lower your chin. Yeah, good. Good, solid.
Lightborn says while anyone with a camera can take pictures, a photographer's touch makes the difference.
There's a lot more technical applications. There's a lot more skill that you need to really capture a really great headshot that you can use to send out to different companies and put on social media, on your website, on business cards and things like that. And so I think that skill level is a little bit higher than just using your phone.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
All right, we hear some more from the National Swim Championships over the weekend, and the San Francisco Giants making history against their historic rivals. Tej Adley is up now with a check on sports. Tej?
Mako Aquatic Swim Team are the five-time defending champions at the Bahamas National Swimming Championships. Coming in second was the Barracuda Swim Club, who racked up 1,519 points. Their head coach is Cameron Bruni. He was extremely impressed with his team's overall performance.
We had a good showing. I think the crowd really brought a lot of energy. I think tonight was some really fast swims. And I'm proud with how the whole team did, not just my team, but every team out there, to be honest.
Director of Training for Alpha Aquatics, who placed third overall, is Andy Lovett.
Previously to this, we've only ever won 87 medals at Nationals in the history of the club. This year we've gone and won 114. Right. This time we got 45 gold medals. Best before was 34. Right. We had 37 silver medals, 32 bronze medals. So we basically surpassed everything. Got a couple of national records as well. So really pleased with everyone's performance.
Then there's the Blue Wave Swim Club, coached by Dylan Brown.
Our goal this year was to increase our ranking or increase our points, which we have done on the point side. We'll continue to grow as a team. And we continue to push them, coaching staff, amazing coaches, amazing parents, and an amazing set of swimmers, hardworking, it's an underdog story, and we're proud of it.
Reporting for our sports, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Some good news as Tropical Storm Brett is no longer forecasted to become a hurricane. Ian is back in the Weather Center when Our News returns. right, well, we apologize for some technical difficulties we experienced. We now hear for some more from Tej Adderley with a check on sports. Let's take a look.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tej Adderley. Mako Aquatics may have won their 5th consecutive title, but a number of swim teams managed to improve on their results from last year. Our Sasha Lightburn had the chance to speak to some of their coaches. She has this report.
Mako Aquatic Swim Team are the 5-time defending champions at the Bahamas National Swimming Championships. Coming in second was the Barracuda Swim Club, who racked up 1,519 points. Their head coach is Cameron Bruni. He was extremely impressed with his team's overall performance.
We had a good showing. I think the crowd really brought a lot of energy. I think tonight was some really fast swims. And I'm proud with how the whole team did, not just my team, but every team out there, to be honest.
Director of Training for Alpha Aquatics, who placed 3rd overall, is Andy Lovett.
Previously to this, we've only ever won 87 medals at nationals in the history of the club. This year we've gone and won 114. Right. This time we got 45 gold medals. Best before was 34. Right. We had 37 silver medals, 32 bronze medals. So we basically surpassed everything. Got a couple of national records as well. So really pleased with everyone's performance.
Then there's the Blue Wave Swim Club, coached by Dylan Brown.
Our goal this year was to increase our ranking or increase our points, which we have done on the point side. We'll continue to grow as a team, and we'll continue to push them, coaching staff, amazing coaches, amazing parents, and an amazing set of swimmers, hard-working. It's an underdog story, and we're proud of it.
Reporting for Our Sports, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
Antoine Richardson is the only Bahamian to ever coach in the major leagues in his century-and-a-half existence. His San Francisco Giants put on a hitting clinic over the weekend against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants had a historic run-scoring output in their weekend series against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Giants swept their heated in-state rival in a 3-game series, scoring 29 runs, a franchise record for a 3-game series in the Dodgers' home stadium. They also handed the Dodgers their worst home shutout loss since 1898, beating them 15-0 on Saturday afternoon. They also beat another in-state division rival, the San Diego Padres, 7-4 last night, thanks to a 3-run walk-off homer that Richardson's fellow Vanderbilt alum Mike Yastrzemski bombed into McCovey Cove. The shellacking of the Dodgers and the Padres moves the Giants to second in their division, with the Arizona Diamondbacks ahead of them. The Giants are currently firmly in line for a wild card spot, but there's a lot of season left, and they still can't plausibly run down Arizona and take the division lead, especially if they keep hitting like this. Now, that home run is a splashy way to win a game. That's all for sports today. I'm Tej Adderley. Have a great evening.
All right, thanks so much, Tej. Well, all eyes still on Tropical Storm Brett, as it's no longer forecasted to become a hurricane. Ian is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia. Welcome back, everyone. Here's a look at our extended forecast, where we begin with the tropics. We're at a hot spot right now. We are talking about Tropical Storm Brett. Brett is out there over several hundred miles just to the east of the Windward Islands. It's moving towards Barbados area. They should see some activity from this by around Thursday, and they have issued tropical storm warnings for Barbados as well as Dominica. Closer to home, we still have some troughing across our area that should trigger pockets of showers and thunderstorms throughout the course of the night and throughout the next several days. Take a look at your boating forecast right now in the northwest Bahamas. Winds will be southerly at 10 knots or less, falling light and variable at times, with your seas running 1 to 3 feet over the ocean. You can expect a high tide at 10:26 p.m. this evening. For the central and southeast Bahamas, winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots, with seas running 1 to 3 feet near shore and up to 2 to 4 feet offshore. Here's a look at your national forecast. And in your extended forecast, you can expect early morning showers, possible thunderstorm activity. Thursday, we expect showers to return again. Friday, some clearing. Saturday through Sunday, expect more shower activity across the area. You can expect those highs to get up into upper 80s, low 90s, with the lows to the mid to upper 70s, and even on some relatively warm, muggy nights hanging around the 80s. That concludes your forecast for this evening. Make it a great night, everyone.
All right, thanks so much, Ian. And with that, we thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.